Read-aloud, Volume 3, Chapter 5, Part 2. All in. Within the black cloud, the world was incomprehensible. The shape of the world, its color, its scent, none of these things could be discerned here. The single firm, solid sensation came from the soles of his feet touching the ground. If not for that, surely he would not have even known which way was up inside the darkness. He could see nothing. He could hear nothing. He could understand nothing. So this was the end of the world. As Subaru felt his feet pressing against his shoes, he searched for something within the haze. Surely there was something that awaited him within the black cloud. Something he had to do. Something was missing. Faced with the world of incomprehension, he had to remember the world of comprehension. Why had this nothingness come? Who had brought it? What were the conditions for ending it? Remember the world beyond, the world that was firm under his feet. His command to his brain made thoughts erupt like sparks. He couldn't make another step. His feet were drained of all strength. Sooner or later, the incomprehension would crush him, making him doubt even the sensation of his soles. If he could see that coming, the answer did not lie outside him. If the answer was not outside his body, it must lie within. Even if he could not bring the oblivion outside him to heal, he could call upon his internal organs, all subconsciously functioning even then. The rules had been signed. It was time to move. And so, suddenly, he felt like his entire body was on fire. The unendurable sensation of heat ripped through Subaru's body, bringing not words from his throat, but a bestial cry. No, he thought it had. He did not understand even that. He didn't understand, but his feet, once drained of strength, moved once more. Forward. His feet moved in the direction he believed to be forward. Awareness, oblivion. Awareness, oblivion. Awareness, oblivion. Over and over and over. Until finally... The instant Subaru broke through the black cloud, leaping outside it, his sword hit something extremely thick. The sword in his hand was ripped out of his grasp. Subaru lifted his face and bit down in his shock. Before his eyes, the huge demon beast's head remained thrust into the black cloud, and the single-handed sword Subaru had been grasping was deep in its chest. The surprise blow left an ugly feeling lingering in the middle of Subaru's hand, the feeling of plunging a dull blade into the flesh of a living creature. The psychological shock was greater than he had anticipated, giving rise to what was almost an eerie, out-of-body feeling. The demon beast, still in the world of incomprehension, couldn't feel the blade in its body. Even as Subaru glanced at the contradictory spectacle of a dead beast that didn't know it was dead, he shamelessly ran, putting distance between them while he still could. His head was heavy. His whole body was sluggish. It was the after effect of using magical power without complete command of it, and thus burning excess amounts of mana. In the first place, using that magic should have spewed out all the mana in his body, leaving him on the ground and unable to rise again. But Subaru had played his trump card to get around that. Thanks a million, brats. Subaru spat out the tiny remnants of the fruit skin still in his mouth as a small smile came over him. He spit out a bokeh fruit, a recovery item that brought strength back to his body devoid of mana. It was amid the completely useless things the kids in the village had pushed onto him when he was headed off to rescue Ram. He had no idea where they had found one. The instant he was sure he had one, his head had been able to muster that plant alone. If he bit down on it at the exact moment he used his magic, maybe he'd be able to move afterward. He'd gambled his very life on it, but the scales had marvelously swung Subaru's way. Putting his back to the demon beast, trapped in incomprehension, his feet took him in the direction the barrier ought to have been. Subaru was a beginner with insufficient mana, so he had no idea how long his shammock would keep going. He couldn't think of any other way to buy time, so he had to get as close to the barrier as he. But Subaru's scheme was instantly foiled by a single claw that grazed the back of his left thigh. The sharp pain heralded the bleeding. Subaru let out an anguished groan as he fell to his knees, but Subaru's mortal foe would not permit him to kneel. His thick paw violently grabbed Subaru's neck, the tips of his claws digging in as it easily hoisted him up. Damn it all! Before his very eyes, he saw the gaping maw of the huge demon beast, open wide enough to swallow Subaru whole. Its fangs dripped with blood as its stinky breath hit Subaru's face. He could only smile desperately at the depth of the creature's grudge. Go to hell, why don't you? He yanked the sword out of the demon beast and plunged it into the creature's mouth with all his might. The fatal blow delivered to the inside of its mouth sent the demon beast roaring and flinging Subaru's body away. Subaru tumbled across the ground, holding on to the sword, and held it before him as he looked up at the demon beast. Yeah, how's that, sucker? Bite on that! The demon beast shook its head, facing Subaru in a berserk rage. Subaru, his body drenched with blood, taunted it with trash talk. With blood all over their faces, they only had eyes for each other. They were whittling down each other's lives. They both understood. None of this would end until one of them slew the other. They stood off against each other. A single spark would be enough to set them off. The confrontation between man and beast, no, two beasts, was on the cusp of beginning. But the square impact of the fiery shot that rained down from the sky put it on permanent suspension at the sound of a man's voice. Ulgoa! Whoa! Subaru shielded his face as the shock wave enveloped his body and blew him back. All of a sudden, the ground in front of him exploded into flames. The high-temperature impact enveloped his entire body with a ferocious wave of heat. Subaru, lying on his side, shook his head as burns added to the wounds already peppering his flesh. What the hell just... The hot, parched air seared Subaru's throat as he looked up, and saw. His cheeks stiffened in shock. Before Subaru's very eyes, the huge demon beast was wrapped in a pillar of fire. It was burning. The flames licked its entire body. The demon beast's paws shuddered and tore at the ground in agony. With the air scorching its lungs, the demon beast could not make a sound as it writhed in the crimson sea and finally dropped to the ground with a heavy thud. All that was left behind was a clump of blackened flesh that had lost 2/3 of its mass. The unforeseen end of the demon beast was not all that surprised Subaru. Flaming shots like the one that had burned the demon beast to death rained down from the sky one after another, plunging into the black cloud. From outside the spread of the darkness, Subaru could not see for himself the full power of the flames upon landing, but he could guess what they were doing. Inside the impermeable darkness, the demon beasts were being destroyed without even realizing. Subaru could no longer tell if that was cruelty or mercy. However, My. Who would have thought that a mere shammock, used chiefly for smokescreens, could be employed with this much impact? The man who had directed the demon beast's fiery death scene floated down from the sky, a flippant smile on his face. His long indigo hair swayed in the wind. His eyes were oddly colored, one blue, one yellow. He wore a bizarre outfit over his tall, slender body. The clownish lord, the mightiest magic user in all the kingdom, Roswell, had arrived. Upon landing, Roswell brushed off his pant legs and swept his long hair behind him as he looked down at Subaru. Oh, you look rather terrible, I must say. You're super late to the party, Roschi. How many times do you think I thought I was going to die there? It was definitely more than a handful. After flinging his abuse, Subaru lost his strength. He fell down then and there, not even strong enough to get up on his knees. You sure figured out where I was, though. Ah, that is because of what Lady Amelia pounded into me at the village. She said, even if it is crazy and reckless, if he's backed into a corner, he'll probably use magic, so don't you dare miss it from the sky. Damn it, Pico. You let Amelia figure it out real quick. Apparently, Beatrice had not been up to the task. Perhaps it was for the better, given how Roswell had miraculously entered the fray at the last moment. Subaru thought over the circumstances when a voice sounded in his ears. Master Roswell! He saw Ram, who had taken a detour around the burning cloud, cutting through some thickets. Ram was leaning on her shoulder as Ram's expression melted in Roswell's presence. I'm sorry to have caused you so much trouble. Oh no, that is quite fine. Indeed, you have done very well in my absence. Blushing hard at the words of praise, Ram pressed a hand to her chest as she made a solemn nod. Watching the exchange between them, Subaru let out a deep sigh of relief. Subaru! Ram suddenly rushed over and embraced Subaru, drawing a sharp cry from his throat. Gah! Before his eyes, blue-haired swayed right next to his face. The soft sensations in so many places made Subaru understand the circumstances. In any other context, he'd be overjoyed, but he had no such leeway at that moment. Ram, my body's banged up all over the... my mind's kinda... Maybe she couldn't control her feelings, but she was hugging him with all her might. Every wound on his body began to cry out as Subaru desperately tried to pat Ram's back to appeal to her. But... You're alive! You're still alive! Subaru! 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 Ram was too overcome with emotion to notice how Subaru was reacting. He felt her press her face against his chest and her warm teardrops flowing down her cheek. A wide range of ticklish sensations struck him, well beyond the capacity of Subaru's brain to deal with. In other words, oh man, not this. Again. As Subaru spoke, his head slowly tilted forward, its neck no longer able to support itself. Its mind grew distant, voices grew faint. Finally, go ahead and sleep. When you awaken, I must thank you quite earnestly. At the very least, rest assured, I shall eliminate that which threatens you. Someone's voice sounded in his ears, serious and devoid of clownish effect. Feeling a deeper sense of security, Subaru gently let go of lucidity. Until the moment he fell asleep, he reveled in the warmth of the embrace and the relief of finally receiving it. Subaru's consciousness sank into a river of unconsciousness. Hey, it's been a minute, hasn't it, since I've done one of these? I would say it's for good reason, but it really wasn't. I just keep forgetting, and then I would... so I stopped doing stuff, and then I record, and then I edit, and then I was like, oh yeah, I never recorded it because I was tired and I wanted to end for the night. And that happened a few times. And so I finally get to voice my stuff for real now. Get to pad out the video length a bit too. That's not what this is for. It's just for my personal entertainment, like the rest of this channel. First I'm gonna make some comments about the first intermission, because the stinking Rem backstory, that was really good. You didn't really get I didn't get to see that in the anime, and I mean they kind of have it. It's hard to. That's one thing I really like about books in general, but especially about light novel books. You often get to see things that you don't get to see because you can't read people's thoughts really well. I feel like Read Zero does a decent time for Subaru, but not really for other characters. Not blame them. He's the main character. It'd be really weird if you jump between in a show, but man, I wish we got some of the insight we get here. Don't go away just yet. While this is the last part of the last chapter, there is a decent epilogue, probably going to be about 3 parts. That's just a rough estimate, though. I have not measured that out, but it is decently long, at least 2 parts. And then there's an intermission, which is going to be its own thing. And after that, that's the end of the book. I'm actually very curious what those have, if there's any extra content. I probably have already seen in the anime. But let's just see. Cross that bridge when we get there, I guess. Well, anyways, thank you for listening to this. Thank you for getting basically the end of this book. I mean, I know there's more, like I just said. It just feels like it's the end because of the chapter. I think it's weird. I'm like only 82% done, I think. 83. I was like, what on earth? So I had to check. And thank you for watching. If you have watched this far, I'll try not to say thank you too much. Like if you liked, subscribe if you do. I say this stuff because I don't know. Maybe you'll forget. I don't know. I bet some people legitimately do forget. They're like, oh yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I might want to bookmark this at least. I mean, she should at least bookmark me. I at least deserve that. Well, I suppose I'll see you guys next time. Bye.